page 515. So turn away from the irrational teachings and erroneous assumptions of your religions, ideologies, and philosophies, and try to find the true logic in the truth, which you can experience and fathom through the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life, to which you shall turn in free will and without coercion, so that you may find your true life. If you follow the effective truth, then you follow therewith also the creational laws and recommendations, so you do not have to worry unnecessarily about your volition, because alone, through you turning to the truth and recognizing it, does the will rise high in you, in accordance with the laws of the creation, to the connection with the truth. And with the will rising in you to the connection with the truth, you set a boundary for uncontrolled interactions which strike you as hard destiny, because through your volition of the turning to the truth, you destroy all the terrible returning effects and create new ones which are good and positive, and which bring you joy and gladness, through which you create true love and harmony in yourselves and find inner peace and inner freedom. And if you understand how to willingly form your destiny through good interactions, then you will therewith create an immensely strong power source in you, out of which will proceed a constant accumulation, i.e., strengthening, of your good energies and powers, wherethrough the good and best will become more and more firm in you. This will then also lead to everything emanating out of you into the environment as fine fluidal swinging waves, where it will be taken in by your fellow human beings, who then sooner or later, slowly but surely, form themselves according to them, thereby creating, just like you, a protective shield of the good around them, which gives protection against the truth unknowledgeness. If then old returning effects through fellow human beings still occur, then these can easily be mastered and cleared up through intellect and rationality and a corresponding logic, through which even enmities come to an end, and you go forth as a true human being, who lives in love, peace, freedom, and harmony, both with himself or herself, and equally with all his or her fellow human beings. You shall not simply live according to your present terms of a religious, ideological, or philosophical fashion, and direct your thoughts and feelings as well as your reflecting and striving according to them, but instead you shall in reality be a truth human being, because only then will you form a valuable connecting link with regard to the entire consciousness evolution of your whole humankind. Your own consciousness is, through your subconsciousness, collectively connected with your fellow human beings of your whole humankind and unites you, so it is possible for you to experience and to overlook many things, or to simultaneously live the same in a certain small number, to have the same thoughts, to do the same, or even to invent the same. Thereto, you not only have the subconsciousness for your utilization, but as a truth human being also, your intellect and your rationality, through which you are able to guide and hence direct everything. Rationality and intellect are high, semi-material values through which you direct your earthly existence, and through which you recognize the truth and reality, and thus can become a truth human being, if you strive for this. Intellect and rationality are therefore, for the truth human being, the driving power out of his or her consciousness, which in turn receives its life energy out of the spirit form, through which the material body primarily awakens to the life. Your intellect and your rationality are first and foremost bound to the material space-time definition. However, they are also able to comprehend things of the fine fluidalness, and hence rise themselves above earthly space and time definitions into the high, fine, fluidal spacelessness and timelessness, and indeed, through the energies and powers of the consciousness, which are able to move outward via the pineal gland and manifest themselves. It is therefore an irrational teaching to claim that intellect and rationality could never move timelessly outside of the material, space, and the time. And just as intellect and rationality can stir fine fluidally in the realm outside of the material space-time configuration through the energy and power of the consciousness via the pineal gland, so also stir the fine spiritual perceptions, which are not identical with the feelings, in the fine fluidal realm outside of the material space-time definition, because they are, as explained, of a fine fluidal kind and arise out of the Gemüt of the fine fluidal spirit form realm, which is steplessly bordered off from the high fine fluid realm of the spirit form itself. Equipped in this form is in an energetical and powerful intellect, rationality, and consciousness-based wise, you human beings of Earth are deeply connected with the fine fluidal and the high fine fluidal. And the fine fluidal lies in that realm which is still connected with the semi-fine fluidal, i.e. the semi-material, such as the thoughts and feelings, whereas the pure fine fluidal already belongs to the outer realm of the spirit energy conditioned, and the high fine fluidal belongs to the direct realm of the pure creational energy, which, as spirit, i.e. spirit form in you, animates your consciousness, i.e. the entire consciousness block, and the therein included mental block. Through the energy and power of the consciousness, and the connection with the pineal gland, you are, in the midst of your earthly material existence, consciously or unconsciously as the case may be, in sensibility with the energy and power of your spirit form, which, however, is only possible for you human beings, whereas the worlds of the animals and other creatures and everything that crawls and flies is excluded therefrom. To enable you to consciously perceive the connection with the creational energy of your spirit form, it requires that you, as truth human beings, follow the creational laws and recommendations, and in the knowledge of the truth, use all your attentiveness and heedfulness on this. And truly only you Vasen of the humankind are capable thereto. You alone as Vasen of the humankind are able to make a connection in a conscious wise between the fine fluidal, the high fine fluidal, and the material coarse substantial, wherethrough you are able to realize the pure life of the fine fluidal and spiritual, and make a harmonious interaction between this and your deep, coarse, substantial material. Human beings of Earth, your majority, however, does not fulfill the creational task of the consciousness evolution, because you separate the two worlds of the fine fluidal and the coarse substantial, instead of firmly uniting them and consciously stirring in both of them. Through your self-acquired characteristic of concentrating solely on the material, you, human beings of Earth, have effectively made yourselves to masters of your coarse, substantial world, and as a result of your doing, handling, and acting, the material world has become dependent on you. But you use this dependence of your world to torment it in every imaginable wise. For example, through chemistry, irresponsible exploitation of the resources, through overpopulation, and the immense resultant problems which can no longer be solved, such as the destruction of the climate, mass migrations, water and food scarcity, hatred, war, torture, and the destruction of the environment and nature, the eradication of many animal, bird, and fish species, etc. For better or worse, your world has become dependent on you, and perforce suffers in its own kind and wise under your terror and through the destruction which you cause upon it and to it. It is you alone who can raise your earth again, if you stop with all your terror and with your destructions, and if you get your population, your overpopulation, under control, out of which all evil, terrible things and problems proceed. But consider that your way will be very long to restoring on your planet the state which, for you, is a true life source. Instead of honoring and taking care of your earthly home, you have brought terribleness over it. And you have done that not least because you have suppressed in yourselves everything that is necessary for your coarse substantial and your fine fluidal world, so that interactions can flow. Equally, just as the oxygen-enriched blood is incessantly pumped through the heart and your arteries to ensure that the body remains fresh and healthy, so it is with the interaction between your coarse substantial and fine fluidal world. If the flow is cut, however, then illness and confusion will ensue, which will ultimately end in a catastrophe. And you, human beings of Earth, you have indeed failed badly in this respect, because you have not only used your intellect and your rationality as necessary tools, but you have submitted yourselves only in material sense to your intellect and rationality, and set both as ruler over yourselves. But in doing so, you have left out of your attention and forgotten everything that is connected with the world of the fine fluidal, which has the consequence that you can only comprehend the coarse substantial, not, however, the fine fluidal, and therefore you are completely dependent on the coarse substantial and material. So you have made yourselves the slaves of your own tool, the slaves of your intellect and your rationality, and as a result you have become human beings of pure intellect and rationality, and proudly call yourselves materialists, but only with the disadvantage that your intellect and rationality show immense deficiency symptoms with regard to the logic, and hence do not show any great value. There are very many amongst you who, even if you carry high titles in your intellect and in your rationality, you are still in the beginnings of your development, and are currently climbing the first step of the real life schooling. Those amongst you who have entirely submitted to the intellect and the rationality, which in your case, however, severely lack in logic, you have so bitten into the material, i.e., change yourselves to everything coarse substantial, that you can no longer perceive, understand, and comprehend anything beyond the earthly space and time definition, because you have entirely submitted yourselves to your illogical, pure, coarse, substantial, material reflecting and striving. But in doing so, you have put yourselves in your own chains, and curtail and encapsulate the horizon of your comprehension capability to such a degree, with your restricted and narrowed as well as illogical intellect and your rationality of the same kind, that true intellect, true rationality, and true logic have become as strange and unknown to you as the alphabet is to a cow.